Hi, and welcome back to the NightChild Reviews Prince. What we're doing at the moment is we're going to do a Prince Hero of the Week. Now this is essentially someone in the Prince community, perhaps an unsung hero or somebody who is added to the Prince world. There may be different people each week. We're going to look at people who perhaps do podcasts, people who review Prince, people who are engaged in the Prince community, maybe members of the Prince army, also other people who just have added to the Prince persona, if you like, even the hero, maybe somebody associated with Prince, somebody who's worked with Prince. But this week, my Prince Hero of the Week is the Peach and Black podcast. Now, if you don't know, these guys are amazing. The podcast was formed in 2009 with 4 Australian guys, MC, Player, Toe Jam and Captain. It's an amazing podcast. It reviews Prince albums in incredible depth. So far they have produced 83 episodes and received over 350,000 views. Their detailed reviews are phenomenal. They have amazing musical terminology. They're impassioned about Prince. They are incredibly funny guys. They will, if you're listening to it on your headphones whilst walking down the street, it can be a little embarrassing because you'll just crack up with some crazy thing that they've said, and you'll get those looks of, yeah, we better avoid that guy. They are fantastic guys. They are really in-depth review. We're talking about an hour and a half to 3 hours sometimes in a review. They go deep into each song, each track by track, and they evaluate it, discuss it, talk about the good points, the bad points. They all have very different views, very different ways they come at it. Some people come at it musically. Some of the members of the Peach and Black podcast come at it in a very kind of thematic way. Some people come at it in a very humorous way. It is just an amazing podcast, and I really want to draw attention to the Peach and Black podcast and really urge you to check it out. They are just the gold standard for discussing Prince as far as I'm concerned. They discuss Prince and they will listen to each other's criticisms. They won't get into slanging matches or arguments or get into heated discussions, but it will be said with respect. It will be discussed with understanding, and it will be discussed in a way that really would be an amazing way if everything across the internet certainly was discussed that way. So I'd urge you truly to listen to this podcast if you can. It was named as one of NME's 11 best podcasts to make your commute amazing. So don't just take my word for it. The NME think they are amazing guys. They really added to my experience of Prince. I love to listen to an album, then listen to the Peach and Black podcast, then go back and listen to that album, because they always pull out things I hadn't heard, or thoughts I hadn't considered, or themes that perhaps were not obvious at first. There's a very good example recently with the Artificial Age album where they discuss the meaning of the song Clouds, and there's so many different interpretations. It really adds to the enjoyment of that song, and it's fantastic, a really fantastic podcast. The one other thing I like about the Peach and Black podcast is the way they break down the song. They will mention individual elements of the song. Say at 2 minutes 11 this happens, or at 2:29 these bells come in, and this reminds us of another song or another project Prince has worked with. So they build up this chronology of the song that goes through. So there are little things to listen out for, and so often in Prince music there are little things in the background that are not immediately obvious, that you don't hear straight away. So it really helps having this podcast to listen to these things, these little background things that Prince is doing, the background vocals, these sounds, these different elements that are not always immediately obvious. So it's fantastic to have that breakdown, and the podcast mentions, 3 minutes 12 this happens, so you can tune in when you listen to it and thinking, yeah, I can hear that in the background, or I can see what he was trying to do there. So that's another great thing that the Peach and Black podcast do. Here's a short clip just to show you the sort of thing I'm talking about. Here they'll be discussing from the album Artificial Age, and they'll specifically be discussing the song Artificial Cage. Fantastic sort of sample of what the Peach and Black is like. So I'll just play that clip and we'll see you in a moment.
Oh, welcome home, class. Welcome home. I'm going to say straight up, this can at times be my favourite song on the album. I think it's cool. It really sets up the theme for the album, this sort of futuristic sci-fi theme, and the music is just banging all the way through, I think. The bass line reminds me a lot of the Jamiroquai song Don't Give Hate a Chance. It sort of has this big descending bass line that just sort of moves around into different chords. I love the intro with the welcome home class and the speaking, I don't know what they're saying, and
It's
crowd
Danish.
cheering, and
It's
Danish. Ah,
Danish.
okay. And you've got all these cool orchestral like oohs and ahs going on in the back. It really sort of opens it up in this big sort of almost operatic intro. And you've got all these cool, crazy sounds going on. And then it gets into the funk verse. It's big like Vuvuzela sound at a minute. Just that's a cool way. And then it goes into the verse. And obviously it starts off with this sort of disco feel, and then it goes into the verse, and it's this real funk, almost Black Album kind of funk feel. But it's sort of a kid's melody as well. And it's got like a glockenspiel going on in the background in the verse, which is this weird contrast. It's like kiddie melody with this like dark funk bass and Lindrum going on. And then it goes into this disco chorus, which has the classic like Larry Graham descending bass line, octave slaps and all this sort of stuff. It's got a real Janelle Monáe sound. There's a bit in the song where like all these vocals come in. Oh, reminds me of heaps of that Janelle Monáe sort of sound going on. It's got a rap part, which is like, I think it's Prince with like a pitch fix vocal. But it sounds really cool because it actually sounds like someone different. But the more you listen to it, I think that is actually Prince doing it. And I just love the whole theme of the song, of this whole like, the idea of this world is a cage and you have to try and escape it, which is kind of the thing that keeps coming back in the album. And there's all these references to what's going on in the political world. There's bombs going off all the way through the song. Just these like synthetic bomb sounds. And they're always on the one, just and you get like these lead ups to them in the background, this whoop, and then boom. And to me, it's just like this imagery of like, war bombs going off. But there's all this funky stuff going around it, which Prince loves to do, this sort of war and funk mix. I love some of the lyrics. My favorite lyric in the entire album is the one I referenced, going up ladies' Liberty dress to blow. That's such a cool lyric on so many levels, as a sexual pun, as also a reference to like, blowing up monuments and this sort of thing. I love the way he does it. It's like a perfect mix of metaphor and symbolism, etc. 244, you've got some... Oh, this is the big one. When it comes at the end with the big boom and it changes vibe completely, and this big synth bass, real dark synth bass comes in, and it starts getting a bit crazy, even more crazy than it already is. You've got references to waterboarding in there. There's obviously someone being waterboarded and they're being asked, what do you know, and all this sort of stuff. And the music goes into this more Arabic feel with this synth guitar solo thing, which is very reminiscent of Thunder from the Diamonds and Pearls album and the Symbol album, that sort of sound. The bass in that part is really cool. I don't know what it is, but it's obviously some sort of synth bass, but it's just got this real chuggy sort of sound, this chung 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 chung, and that's awesome, that bit. You've got the vocals going on in the left and right, the artificial cage, which is like really reminiscent of Controversy. All these little like Princeisms in there, all locked in together. And then at 3:21, it's just the big bomb again. Boom! Explodes. Oh man, this song just has everything in it. It's a landscape of all these sounds. It's got the funk, it's got the disco, it's got the crazy lyrics, it's got pitch fix vocals all the way through. This is like classic Prince to me. And I'm going to say this on a few songs, but this song has a Love Sexy vibe about it. And Love Sexy is my favorite Prince album. Well, on par with a few others. And this song, in as well as a few others, have that Love Sexy sound to it. I just love it. So it's great. Great intro to a great album.
Wow. That's the kind of standard the Peach and Black podcast I have. Fantastic guys. Really, really, definitely worth a look out. If you check them out, just type Peach and Black podcast into Google, or they're on peachandblack.podbeam.com, and just really, really fantastic guys. Well worth a listen. Download a podcast, put on your headphones, go out and enjoy your day. Anyway, the NightChild will be back very shortly. Our next episode will be a review of the recent Autism Rocks concerts in London and Dubai. We're going to also touch on the Saturday Night Live after show that Prince did, and also the Michael Jordan event. Until then, see you later.